Okay, so very quickly, something you folks will hear me talk about often. It's just a great opportunity for me to give you a really good visual and some vivid perspective. So, this is a valley, right? You have your higher plane here, right, that disperses water down onto this lower plane. And therefore, since you have water that's dispersing from the higher plane down onto this plane, right, you're always going to run the shingle up this valley. And the reason that you do that, first off, there are a few different techniques that are really important when it comes to the valley. Number one, if you picture this strike line where you can see the air compressor hose, right? Within 10 inches of that line going up the whole valley, that would be the last place we drop a tack, okay? And the reason that we wouldn't drop a tack any closer than 10 inches to the valley is because we already, showed you earlier the lumber, and we showed you, Steven, get your foot off of that. We showed you where it was deteriorated in the valley because it is such a high traffic area with water. Steven, he needs that line. So basically, since we know that, right, we want to make sure that we're not dropping any tacks any more than 10 inches in because we don't want any penetration. We don't want any water. And then when we wrap that shingle up the valley at least 10 inches, right, you see we have tacks set up in the corners so that when they lay these shingles, right, these shingles are going to be laid from bottom to top, right? And as it comes across the valley, it's going to overlay. And then we're simply going to quick strike and cut them off. It'll be a razor sharp line, but more importantly, you will have, almost a foot there of protection running up the higher plane and then the other shingle overlapping. So, again, it's something that, the people we put on roofs are pros. They're all certified master installers. So those techniques are vital. But you'd be surprised how many times we do inspections and see the valleys run the other way. Same thing here. When you guys hear me talk about the staggering process, right? We start at the bottom. So on this first row, we start with a starter shingle. And as we begin to lay these rows out, right? If you see, it starts to stagger and shorten. So as we go up, we also go in. And the reason that we're staggering those, right? We never want the end of a shingle, which is this line right here, to line up with the end of another row of shingles and make a continuous seam, right? We don't want that. We want to stagger them. So at the same point, right? When they're laying this shingle, right, and when they lay this shingle, they don't tack this, which is the exposure. They tack that non-exposure. Let me get this drip edge out of the way with the shade. Oop. Yikes. Okay, so if you can see that tack, right, all the way in this corner, okay, the next time that they will drop a tack will be all the way down 12 inches. And the reason why that is, well, we know that there's going to be a tack and a seam right here. So we don't want any tacks underneath the seam. So we drop a tack here, and then we skip over, and another tack isn't dropped until there.